Hey guys, Jennifer here. Wanted to give you a quick rundown of the books that I have cataloged on the Destiny system. So, to give you a little background, I selected 5 books in the 398 section of Dewey Decimal, which is the juvenile nonfiction, folklore, social science, mythology section. And I selected 5 books for this section because of 2 reasons. Number one, my students love Percy Jackson and the Kane Chronicles. And the author, Rick Riordan, is publishing a new series that comes out in October of this year that is going to be about the gods of Asgard, which is Viking mythology. So, taking this inspiration, I went over and looked at my own catalog in my own school, and I found that we have very little on mythology. And the books that we do have are very old. There's not very good pictures, if any pictures. It's just a lot of text that the students have to decipher. And in a school that predominantly services students where English is a second language, I just thought those titles were not really effective for helping our kiddos really understand these fabulous traditional mythology stories. So, with that said, the first book that I found is titled Oh My Gods. So, I went to add title, typed in the title, and here it is. The first one, Oh My Gods, a look it up guide to gods of mythology. So, if we first check out the title details, just so you can see a picture of the book, you're going to see this book is illustrated. It's very visually dynamic to really get the kids' attention. And when I'm thinking of my students, this book versus just a normal about the gods, no pictures, is not going to be very helpful. This book, however, the kids are going to pick up and they're going to want to read. So this is why I selected this book. And so going to the Mark View, I found all of my information on this book for the Mark View on the Follett tidal wave system. It was super, super easy. And when I clicked edit title, when I was putting these in, I didn't even need to use the easy editor. I just went in, I used the terms over here, sorry about that. I used the classification numbers, clicked on them, and was able to enter my data and then save it. So let me just scroll down here and save it real quick so we can check it out some more. So that's how I put my information in. So you can see, again, I got all this information from Follett. I've got the LCCN number, the ISBN. I found Follett's tidal wave to be super easy, super helpful because it presented all of this first information really from the LCCN number all the way down to my summary, my series statement. It was literally right there when I typed in the title of the book I was looking for. It was just right there. Easy to read. It told me exactly what it was, and so I could just take it from there and plop it into here. So you can see I've got 2 ISBN numbers. I've got the title, Oh My Gods. It's a look it up guide to the gods of mythology by Megan Bryant. It was published in 2010 by Scholastic, and it was published in New York. This is not a really long book. It's not a really hard book. It only has 128 pages. It's hardback, so the kids aren't going to tear it up. Has some beautiful color illustrations and maps. And it's part of this series called Mythopedia. So then when I'm on the Follett system, I was able to scroll down just a little bit and I was able to locate this information about reviews. The book was reviewed 3 times between 2009 and 2011 with major journals that I think as librarians we could value their review. It wasn't just some random person. And so that was Booklist in 2009, Library Media Connection in 2010, and School Library Journal in 2011. And so then we've got our summary. The book is primarily focused on the gods and goddesses. It presents the key characters with profiles, family trees, and modernized representations. And so the target audience for the book is grades 3 to 6. However, I thought it would be really good for the demographic at my school because those visual modernized representations are really going to grab the kids' attention and help my students who struggle with English as their first language. Between the pictures and the details and the stories presented, I felt like my students would have a pretty good understanding of what's what about Greek mythology. And so again, I've got it cataloged as a juvenile nonfiction, social science, folklore, and mythology. Some search topics or access points that I included were mythology Greek gods, Greek goddesses, Greek heroes, Greek beasts, Greek monsters, Greek culture, and Greek histories. Because this is what the book talks about. It was just really straightforward and really easy, I think, for students to learn and use. And then last but not least, we have all of the editors. Not editors, I'm sorry, illustrators. Again, it had beautiful illustrations and we had multiple illustrators. So I was able to just input this, save it, and move on to the next one. So what is the next one, you're probably asking? The next title that I found is What a Beast. What a Beast is also a Mythopedia series book, but it's written by Sophia Kelly. And so if we switch over to the title details real quick, you can get a look at what this book looks like. Again, it's visually dynamic. It's going to grab your kids' attention and make them want to read it. And so as we switch to the mark view, like the first one, I was able to find all of the information on tidal wave. So we've got the LCN, the ISBN number, Sophia Kelly's the author, What a Beast is the title, What a Beast, a Look It Up Guide to Monsters and Mutants of Mythology, published in 2010 by Scholastic in New York. Again, it's a shorter book, 128 pages, hardcover, with beautiful color illustrations and maps for your kiddos. Again, we've got 3 reviews, reviews that I think we could value, reviews that would help us as librarians, and that was for this book, the School Library Journal, the Library Media Connection Starred, and the Book List. And this book focuses on the monsters and beasts prevalent in Greek mythology. Each story is written in a way that the student, learns about the key characters, the family histories, extra fun facts, and wild, vivid language and images. Again, target audience 3 to 6. It does have a reading counts quiz like the last one, but I think that kids younger than grades 3 and older than grade 6 are going to be able to pick up this book and get something out of it because of those rich images that are used. And so again, I've got it placed in the juvenile nonfiction, social science, folklore, and mythology, with the access points of being Greek monsters, Greek beasts, Greek heroes, Greek gods, Greek goddesses, Greek histories. And last but not least, we have our 4 illustrators. So those were my first 2 books. And so then the next book that I found, and I actually found those first 2 books in this 3rd book, Treasury of Greek Mythology, when I was at the local Barnes & Noble. And these 3 books, they all just amazed me with how vivid the images were and how accurate the information was. So here's a picture. You can see the title, the front of the book. It's very visual. It's going to get your kiddos' attention. They're going to want to read it. And so when I speak about accuracy, the thing that got me, the thing that made me select these 3 books as my starting point, is that not only did they include the vivid images, the beautiful language, but they also included some references for kids to verify the information and then find additional information for those kids that just can't get enough of mythology. And so for this book, again, I got the title from Barnes & Noble, and I headed over to the Follett website, Tidal Wave, and I found all my information. So we've got the LCCN number, ISBN number, the title, again, Treasury of Greek Mythology. This is Classic Stories of Gods, Goddesses, Heroes, and Monsters, written by Donna Jo Napoli. This one, however, was published by National Geographic in Washington in the year 2011. And you can see that this book is a little bit larger, 191 pages. It's again hardcover and has colored illustrations and maps. Now, this book you can see was reviewed even more than the first 2. I think it will be a great addition to any library. And all of these reviews, I think, are valid for us as librarians. So we've got Hornbook, Book List. It actually won the award for School Library Journal Best Book of 2011. And then it was reviewed in Library Media Connection, Publishers Weekly, and Kirkus Reviewed. This book presents the retelling of these ancient Greek myths. The book shares the stories of gods, goddesses, heroes, and monsters with profiles of the key characters, the constellations that helped the Greek people worship and love their gods and goddesses, and cultural references. And so this book, again, target audience 3 to 6. I think with the pictures, I think with the stories, you're going to get younger kids wanting to read it and being able to struggle through it a little bit with the aid of the pictures. And then we've got, your older kiddos wanting to pick it up as well to look at those pictures and get this quality information. Now, this book has 2 quizzes, one AR and one reading counts, depending on which your school uses. And again, last but not least, we have it placed in the juvenile nonfiction section of social science, folklore, mythology, with our access points: Greek gods, Greek goddesses, Greek heroes, Greek monsters, Greek constellations, and Greek culture. And we just have one illustrator for consistency through this book. So I found 3, I needed 2 more, and I haven't even touched on Egyptian or Norse mythology. And so I went to Amazon and looked at customers who purchased the last book. What would they purchase? And I found another book written by Donna Jo Napoli called Treasure of Egyptian Mythology. Treasury of Egyptian Mythology. Okay, so looking really quickly at that first title, we can see, again, very visually dynamic for our kiddos. They're going to pick it up. They're going to want to see what this is about. Now, again, like the first 3, I found all of the information on the tidal wave program except the LCCN number. I think maybe because it's a newer publication, it was missing off of the tidal wave. So for this LCCN number, I had to go to the Library of Congress, and then I was able to locate it very quickly, type in the book, and you're able to see MARC records done by the Library of Congress, and so I was able to pull it off of there. Because I know how to read the MARC record, I was able to locate the classification 010 and find it. And so just to run through this one really quick: Treasury of Egyptian Mythology, Classic Stories of Gods, Goddesses, Monsters, and Mortals. It's again a first edition book published by National Geographic in Washington in the year 2013. 192 pages, hardcover, color illustrations. Not as many maps in this one, but very visual colored illustrations. Again, it's been reviewed a number of times in the last 2 years by book reviewers that we're going to want to use. So 6 times in 2 years. I think that would make it a pretty good book for us to use. And this one presents those traditional Egyptian retellings of stories with key character profiles, historical, cultural, and geographical context. Doesn't just talk about the gods and goddesses, it talks about the mortals and the pharaohs and the queens and the pyramids. Okay, so we've got this listed as juvenile nonfiction because it primarily focuses on the gods and goddesses. We've got it still listed as social science and folklore and mythology. However, our access points this time are going to be Egyptian creation, Egyptian gods, Egyptian goddesses, Egyptian mortals, Egyptian heroes, Egyptian creatures, Egyptian pharaohs, and we've got our illustrator. And so the last book that I found, and I found it on Amazon, is titled Favorite Norse Myths. And Favorite Norse Myths was written by Mary Pope Osborne. And it's a little bit older book. You're going to see in just a moment. This book was published in '96. So I selected this book because there's not a lot out there about Norse mythology. But Rick Riordan is creating a new series that details, pulls in the Viking myths, the Norse mythology, Thor, Loki, and the other gods of Asgard. So, like the others, I found the majority of my information on Tidal Wave. However, because this book is a little bit older, they don't have it in print in Tidal Wave at the moment. So I had to look at not, older books. But there's, like I said, nothing else available that's really valid, in my opinion, on Norse mythology until we have some new titles coming out this year. So this is the best we've got at the moment. But as we scroll through here, you can see I've got all my information. It's a shorter book. I got this from Follett. And again, it was published in 1996 by Scholastic. In '96, it got a number of reviews. And so I thought this would be why we would want to include it, because it does have some illustrations and it has really good references for students.